Okay. All right, then I think we're exactly on the second, you, Christian.
That's right.
So, real good morning. Welcome to this quarterly presentation for the Q3 for Schibsted. I'm happy to see so many in the room, and I know that many are following us on webcast as well. As normal, it's Trond and me who will go through the presentation, but we have also the presence of our chairman, and of Sondre and Didrik, so hopefully we'll be able to answer your questions. We will run the presentation relatively quickly, and then be sure that we have enough time for Q&A. It's been a very good quarter for Schibsted, and to dive straight into it, these are the headlines. In the classifieds side, we see very positive development within all our big sites in France, Norway, and Spain. It's really they're delivering well on the verticals, so a very good quarter for them. A bit softer in Sweden, but let's get back to that. And we're also seeing that the investment phase has reduced their losses in this quarter. Let me get back to that also. Publishing is delivering very well, and you can see that publishing has, albeit small, it's a positive development on the top line and a very positive development in the product development and also in the EBITDA. So I'm very impressed by what they have been, what they're doing. And then for Schibsted Growth, we continue our expansion, and especially Lendo is showing a consistent and good growth, but there are also many other good companies in that portfolio. We have recently launched a new organizational structure, and let me start by telling you a little bit about that. The important thing for Schibsted has been to invest more in product and technology, and we've done a major step up there the last 3 to 4 years, which I think is absolutely instrumental for our success going forward. And we'll continue to rely heavily on our investments in product and tech. We have decided, though, to organize our activities in a different manner by making 2 focus divisions, one for media and one for marketplaces. And the product and tech will continue to be the driving force in these divisions. And by reorganizing it this way, we believe that there'll be opportunity for us to really take care to use our global scale within the publishing and within classifieds, but still then bring the product and tech closer to the where the action is. So the organization is being implemented as we speak, and it will be complete before the year end. The strategic goals that Schibsted have been working towards for many years remains the same. We said that we are here to create world-class digital media houses, and we are a global leader in marketplaces. We want to continue that development. Online classifieds, let me go into that. Let me start by taking one step back and just show you another way of presenting the classifieds, where you see that our strong brands and that have leading market position in their local marketplaces are really the fundament of of our progress. And you can see that most of the revenue comes from the verticals. Professional dealers that we're working with in the verticals. This is where we have seen the most growth, and also where I expect most of the growth to come in the coming years. And in order to be the best partner, we need to continuously work with our product development. And this is what I refer to when I'm talking about our investments in product and tech. This is what it's going to, this is where it's going to materialize in products that we're rolling out. This is both for the media division and for the classifieds divisions. And we are constantly working on developing new products. As late as this week, we rolled out a new dashboard service in Blocket in Sweden for car dealers. And I believe those kind of services have been well received in other markets. We'll be able to tell you more about that also when we deep dive more in our Capital Markets Day. That will happen a few weeks from now. Le Bon Coin is delivering another excellent quarter. I think it's fair to say that they're firing all their on all their cylinders. We're seeing that the cars is doing well. Real estate is their biggest vertical now, has a very positive development. And the smallest vertical, but the one that's growing quickest, is of course jobs. And all three of them are significant contributors to the total development for leboncoin. Display ads are a bit slower in this quarter, but we see increased margins, and we see also that they have traffic growth. Then I'd like to just remind you of that the margin in leboncoin, as in other companies, can vary from quarter to quarter. So last year we had a lot of marketing investments in the third quarter. This year we didn't have it, but we will have it in fourth quarter. I've seen some of the trial TV commercials. They're real good, so I can recommend them to you. But so hence that will affect, of course, the margin in the fourth quarter. But the important part for me is that there is a healthy underlying development in all of leboncoin. Going over to Finn, I mean, I think they've delivered another very impressive performance here. And again, also here, all the verticals are really doing well. Of course, Finn is partly reflecting the development in the Norwegian economy, and we're seeing that the jobs is going well now. And we can see that also geographically, that things are more positive now on the West Coast than they used to be, of course, last year. So in the Bergen and Stavanger area, we can see that the jobs are picking up, also in the traditional strong sectors, oil and gas. Of course, not back to the levels they used to be, but we see a more positive development. Also in the housing markets for those two regions. And then I think Finn has also a very good development in traffic and have spent on marketing, but they have, as you know, Finn has really reinforced their position even more in the Norwegian market throughout this year. So another excellent quarter from Finn. In Spain, it's a bit of a mixed development. We're seeing a very good performance in jobs and also in cars. Real estate market is hampered or is stronger competition, but we're seeing that the acquisition that we did in Habitaclia has been very successful, strengthen our position in an important region for us in Catalonia. Then, of course, since we are we're meeting tough competition, we're investing in marketing like we're doing in other markets. I believe that is exactly the right thing to do. And then, of course, the question mark when it comes to the further development in Spain is the political situation in Catalonia. And we just have to wait and see. But obviously, if there's an unstable situation or unrest, that's not good for business. So typically, we've seen some signs in info jobs, but it's too early to say exactly how that is developed. In Sweden, it's a bit of a softer quarter from Blocket, especially display ads. They're not having the best development. It's also affected partly by the combination of Service Finder. I think the good thing is that the cars, the professional cars especially, continues to grow well, and also the jobs part in Sweden is becoming important now. But we're working continuously on the product development there. In the other markets, other developed markets, I say it's a bit of a mixed development. Italy, Subito, Willhaben, and also Hungary are all continue to grow well. So they have a growth rates around 20%. What's dragging down the total there somewhat is Ireland, where the real estate market has been very difficult for us. But our traditional players in Italy and in Austria and Hungary are developing well. Right, talked about the investment phase. We have said throughout the year and also last year that will reduce the spending. And you see that also from quarter to quarter. But let me again remind you that there might be some seasonal effects. So we expect that to a somewhat higher level again back in Q4. But the trend is that it's reduced because the businesses are developing well. So then there's lesser need for investments. Brazil, I don't think there's any big news to report from Brazil in this quarter. As you know, we increased our stake from 25 to 50 in the summer. It continues to develop well and has a good development both in traffic and also in the important verticals, especially then cars, and also doing well in real estate. Then, to round off the classifieds part, this shows you the development of how Shpock is doing. And for the most promising development we're seeing in Shpock now is in the UK, where we're really seeing that Shpock is getting traction. We have not there been hampered by competition from Facebook. But what we're measuring us is the big generalist Gumtree. And what we're seeing is that especially in app usage, we're actually surpassed them with quite some margin. And we're now testing out different forms of monetization as we look ahead. Right, then I think I'd like to turn to the media houses. And I'm impressed by the job that's being done in the media houses. An excellent quarter. I don't think, albeit a slow growth, at least a stable and a positive development of the top line, and also a better economic result. I don't think many media companies, traditional media companies, can show the same development. And I think it's really good when you see what they're doing on products throughout the different media houses. So let me show you a little bit here. Last time we highlighted VG. This time we combined VG and Aftonbladet, which are similar in structure in many ways. And also Aftonbladet has a good quarter. But I think here you can see, especially VG is showing very impressive results. So the product development, let me get back to that. But here you can see that they have a good growth in digital subscribers and also are taking market share in the digital ads sphere in Norway. So excellent performance by VG and also then very good performance by Aftonbladet here. Then I think another encouraging signs for the media houses are what we're seeing when it comes to digital subscriptions. I mentioned VG's digital subscriptions, but of course for Aftenposten and Bergens Tidende, Fædrelandsvennen, Stavanger Aftenblad, and Svenska Dagbladet, we're seeing a very positive development in digital subscription. Now this is an industry phenomenon, but I think that our execution on this is actually among the best that I can see globally. And here you can see that here are some offers from Aftenposten as development. And what we see is that people are willing to pay for quality content, and also that there is a much higher pickup rate among younger persons in this than for the paper edition. I think this is very encouraging. We've seen it in other markets when there is uncertainty or unrest in the society, then people turn to quality sources. I think even in stable countries like Norway and Sweden, we're seeing that there is a positive demand for good quality content, and that's why we're selling more digital subscriptions. I think Aftenposten alone is close to is it 100,000, Didrik?
Yes, I think we passed 100,000.
Past 100,000, yes. Yeah. So that is digital subscriptions. Then I talked about product development. Many things happening here. Personalized front page on Aftenposten being rolled out. For Aftonbladet, they've really been investing a lot in live coverage, live video coverage of big news events. So just yesterday I saw there was an incident in the airport, bomb, suspected bomb, and Aftonbladet immediately goes out and say we're transmitting live from that. Same thing for VG is really developing a lot of good new products. This is a new service, so I believe it's in test, in beta, VG Peil, which is the next generation news app. You can see it's very different from the traditional news services. I think it's going to be very attractive, especially for a young public. And I believe that with the reorganizations that we're going through, we'll be able to put even more emphasis on the product development. All right, then let me finish up by Schibsted Growth. There are no big news there, except to see that this develops well. Here you can see a positive development in the revenues, and this is then excluding Hitta. You see that personal finance is getting even more important in the total, but there are also substantial business in price comparison and a number of other businesses. And then, well, the star performer has been, as we've shown you before, has been Lendo, and especially in Sweden they're doing well, but we have actually launched it in 2 other markets, in Norway and in Finland, and we see a promising development there, so a scalable business model. Right, I think that was what I was going to say about the operation, so then Trond, I'll hand it over to you.
Thank you, Rolv Erik. If you look at the figures, it's certainly a good quarter. But if you look at the breakdown, I think it's also important to notice that if you go into a classifieds operation, that it is really the main verticals that is most important for value driver for us, of course. And then real estate, motor, and jobs. Also we have a very small percentage of generalists. We being asked if Facebook has an impact in any markets. We monitor, of course, closely that. We don't see that on our traffic position and on the revenues, and only 4% of the revenues also coming from the generalist private. The advertising revenues is still, I would say, a somewhat challenging market, but we do see some positive development, and we're really working on getting better targeted product in the display ads. If you look at the P&L for third quarter, we have a 10% growth in operating revenues. That leads to 903 million compared with 756. And we have a part of the other income and expenses. We have sold out Hitta in Sweden, and there we have a gain of approximately 200 million as a result of selling out of Hitta. So that leads to an operating profit of 802 compared with 354. So again, a really good quarter and going well in most operations. If we break down then between the 2 quarters, 17 and 16, you see that it is then the verticals in France and Norway really doing well. Sweden is also good on the car market, but again hampered by especially the display market in Sweden. Spain, job and cars, and the other is a little bit slow due to especially difficult situation a little bit in Ireland. The media houses, again, really good figures, and Sweden, more normal development that we have seen over the last quarters. And again, about the same level on the other that we have guided lead to the 903 figure. Looking then at the different markets, you see that we have a 22% top line growth, and margins are stable and healthy on our classified operations. And you see that in the different markets that we have revenue growth of 23% in France, 21% in Norway. In Sweden, again, I said it's a little bit slow, but underlying around 4% in the car in Blocket. Spain 27, and other developed market also there some underlying development of 14%. We reiterate our guidance, meaning that we have a 15%-20% top line growth over the next, or actually what we say, medium to long term, and that is certainly then now reiterated. And we also have guided that we do see in 2018 further reduction in the online classified investments, as we do see good development in our underlying assets, so that will go down. And then in the product and tech, we also certainly will be through the reorg, and we will also there see that we can probably take out some effects of the being closer to the operations, and especially the vertical initiatives that we believe can be a positive contributor in those operations. And the CapEx is expected to be around 100 million. If you look at the key financial figures, we have a net cash flow from operating activities, which is strong in this quarter. Net interest-bearing debt is ratio 2.1 net interest-bearing debt over EBITDA, and then the CapEx about the same level as before. And we having sound and good financial position, and we having also a maturity profile that we are happy with when it comes to our financing. And the underlying tax rate is around 30% if you then look at our operations. And we have a prudent tax policy, meaning that we don't take up then the benefit if we do investment in the early stage in markets. So that leads us to the highlight for Q3. And it is then just to say it again, solid growth in our core verticals. We're having a positive development certainly in the largest market, and also reduced our losses in the investment phase. And publishing, really happy with the digital product development, and also the development we're seeing as a result of the digital growth. Schibsted Growth, continue expansion, and then again we have been through then the reorg that Rolv Erik talked about. So I think that leaves the Q3, Rolv Erik.
Yeah, I think you just remain up there. Let's get up the next slide to remind everyone here that we will have an investor seminar in Barcelona on the 14th of November. So hope that most of you can attend there. Right, I think that's actually we'll finish off the presentation there, and then just open up for Q&A. As I said, you know, I see we have the chairman, we have Sondre and Didrik here. I see Gard in the back here also, so I think we should be able to answer most questions, hopefully. So please, let's start.
Henriette Trondsen, Arctic. First, congrats with very strong results. On investment spending, you expect that to come somewhat up in Q4. Can you give any further color on that? And also, how much of the spending in Q3 that was for Spock in UK? And also a second question on Spain. Do you still see any effects from Wallapop in cars?
Yes, yeah, I can say, well, first of all, I mean, we are somewhat reluctant to give too precise guiding, since we have to do campaigns varying from quarter to quarter. But put it a little bit differently, I think for the year 17, I think that the consensus that we have in the market for investment spend, that's okay for us. So I think that's the only guidance I can give on that, meaning that we go a little bit up in Q4. And when it comes then to...
Well, Wallapop, so far, I mean, we're following what they're doing. We're watching them closely. So far, we haven't seen any effect on our business.
Yeah, thank you.
Fredrik Steinslin from Pareto Securities. First of all, congrats on good results. A couple of questions from me, if I may. First of all, can you comment a bit on a political potential impact in Spain, and kind of elaborate a bit on what the potential outcomes and how this can affect your growth, just to get a sense of what the potential impact can be?
No, I don't think it's up to me to reflect on potential outcome. What I can talk about is how it may affect our business. And then if there's political unrest, then that tends to over time that tends to affect businesses. And you know what we then can see, and we see that in other markets, it's a little bit like if there's uncertainty on the macro picture. It's the same signs really. So you know, typically people will wait with their recruitments, and that may affect info jobs. And in general, the advertisement spend may go down. So that is what can happen, but I don't. It's not up to me to speculate in different outcomes.
Okay, thank you. On marketing spend across your developed phase, how would you comment on what the total marketing spend was in Q3 compared to, say, an average level over a year, for example, and how will this develop into Q4 contra Q3?
Well, it's a bit. I think we have to be a bit more granular than that. I think you know, our different businesses, they decide when and how to spend their marketing money, and reacting to things in the market and following their strategic plans. So it's not like that is decided here by headquarters. And then I think that will vary from country to country. So I mentioned the example of France. Right there, we know that there will be more marketing spend in fourth quarter, and then I think it will vary a little bit from country to country.
Okay, last one for me. You comment a bit on monetization for Shpock. Can you elaborate a bit on that, on timeline and rollout that you foresee?
I can say that we're experimenting with how to different models for payment, and that will vary between, you know, display ads, you place that and that you have special promoted things in the feeds, and that you go into the verticals and try to develop tools for car dealers, for instance. And if they work, it's all about providing leads. If you provide leads, then you can charge for it. That's on a general level.
Marcus Becker from SEB. It seems like a quarter where Steins are quite well aligned. A lot of good performance across all the assets. But are there any bumps in the road that you actually had this quarter, so the quarter could potentially be even better? You didn't mention anything that was on the soft side, more or less.
Well, I think we're happy with this quarter, and I think I'll leave it at that. I did.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, something from the webcast.
Okay, we have a few questions from viewers on the webcast. We had some technical issues here, but well, one question is regarding Sweden. Can you comment on the car market there? Give some sense of the importance of cars in Blocket, and how early signs are in the market there from a new competitor.
Well, cars is a very important vertical for Blocket, no doubt about that. And that's high priority for us to continue to develop that. And that's why we're rolling out new products. And we see that there's a new competitor being launched, and we're watching them closely. And I think this will only further encourage us to work even harder on our own product, and to work to forge even closer ties with the important car dealers, and deliver good products for them that can deliver leads. So I think that's what I can say at this stage.
Okay, can you give some more color on the Norwegian housing market, which is slowing down? How might that affect the real estate vertical on Finn?
I think that's too early to say. You can have, you know, when you can actually have a delayed effect if people spend more money because they want to market it. But of course, in the long term, if it goes down, then you'll typically see fewer transactions. That's why I said that that Finn is also reflecting the Norwegian economy.
Yeah, and then regarding product and tech related cost, what can you say about the direction of that into 2018?
No, we have said that we aim for same or somewhat lower levels in 2018, and that's the guidance for time being. We may come back in Q4 to give some more precise guidance on the product and tech going into 2018.
Continue to invest in product and tech for our services will be important for us.
All right, the final one for now at least. Can you give some more color on Mexico? Can you give some comments on the development there?
Well, Mexico is really doing great on top line growth. Again, just to remind you that Mexico is a large market, but less developed on the vertical side. We having a really leading position in the car and generalist market, and also real estate is very fragmented. But again, fragmentation is typically the situation, so it will take some time for really being able to see significant contribution from Mexico. But that's a promising, interesting market.
Yeah, Jörg Maske from Protector Insurance. In terms of your Spock slide, it mentions that you're going after the car vertical. And what do you believe you can take on the incumbents there in terms of the car vertical?
I mean, since we have Sondre here in the room, perhaps you want to answer that, Sondre. You can stand up here because there might be more questions coming to you, and you see you're here.
Yeah, I think, you know, just reiterate what Rolf Erik said. We're focusing on the product development of Spock, and we're continuing to investing in both the product organization and the markets we are in, and it's following the natural journey of moving. When you have a strong position in generalist, you start to move into the verticals, and also start to move into the professional parts of verticals. And then in some of our markets, and we commented specifically on the development in UK, you have strong players. It's a very interesting both classified market and a very interesting digital advertising market. The total advertising market in UK is by far the biggest in Europe. So it's an interesting market to attack, even though we have, of course, strong incumbent players.
Yeah, I'm just curious because I'm just curious in case of Spain and Wallapop has exactly the same position there in terms of what you're trying to do in the UK, more or less. So if you're believing you can attack the UK successfully, and you should have this, you know, Wallapop should have the same chance to attack your Spain's position as well. And I'm just curious what you believe regarding that case, and if there's any differences between the UK position of Spock and Spain and Wallapop.
I guess the easy answer is that, you know, I guess nobody have the real truth on how it will develop. We just have to execute better than our competitors, and we have done that in the past, and we will do it going forward.
I think it's fair to say that UK is by far the largest digital market per capita or in total in Europe. So it's a much bigger pie in the UK.
All right, thanks.
Now, Sondre will of course be very central at the Investor Day, but now he's here now as well. So if you want to take the opportunity to ask other questions about classifieds, please do so. Well, if not, then I think you have one more from the web.
Yeah, we got one more on the end here. When you're rolling out Spock into your existing markets, potentially others, if that is the case, what will be the risk of cannibalizing your existing marketplaces?
Can you take that, Sondre?
Yes, we are using Spock as an important product in some of our existing market, and then we take a portfolio approach, as we have done, for example, in the Norwegian market, where we see a good coexistence of Finn and Spock together, and Finn is strengthening their position. in this competition. And Shpock is targeted towards younger users, and so of course we take a portfolio approach and balancing. So we're giving our users in the market the best product portfolio.
All right. Seems that we've been able to answer the questions so far. So then thank you so much for coming, and we'll be available for further questions. It's also a conference call in the afternoon. And remember, see you in Barcelona, November 14th. Thank you very much.